Today, we're breaking down some commentary on one nation's growing political influence in Australia.
The source material frames this whole surge around a pretty simple idea: success breeds success.
And that success? It's shifting what's known as the Overton Window. That's the range of acceptable debate.
So topics like immigration and patriotism, once seen as fringe, are now part of the mainstream conversation.
Okay, so how are the major parties responding to this shift? Let's look at the establishment's view.
For example, one Liberal MP just calls them a single-issue party. Pretty dismissive, right?
The analysis describes this tone as smug, dismissive, and patronizing towards the party and its voters. But here's where it gets interesting. There's a huge contrast between that perception and the polling data. This points to a massive disconnect. The author argues the major parties are desperately out of touch. And to understand the potential fallout, the source points to a really recent example from the UK. The argument is, this isn't a new story. They point to Nigel Farage's rise as a cautionary tale,
and it follows a familiar pattern. First comes the dismissal, then the quiet growth, then a huge political disruption.
All right, but what about the other big claim, that one nation has no real policies to speak of? Here's that assertion, again, coming directly from a member of the political establishment.
But the source says that's just not true, pointing to several very specific policy positions.
So the crucial point here is this massive gap between the establishment's perception and the party's actual platform. And that leaves us with a final, pretty big question. What does this all reveal about the state of politics?